Welcome back, everyone. I hope you had a chance. That works now. So I won't take up too much time, and I think there may be a bit of feedback online. So I'd like to welcome you all to Mastering Administrative Excellence, Marie Ellis, who has a very long title. I'd love to see the business card. But look, without any further ado, I'd like to welcome Marie. If you get a chance, make sure you show your vocal appreciation and ask plenty of questions. Marie, over to you.
Thank you. So yeah, thank you for having me here today to speak to you. Yeah, if you see me looking down, it's because I'm looking at my notes so I don't forget anything. But yeah, thank you for having me here to share my experience of admin excellence. So hopefully today you can pick up some useful tips that you can use in your day-to-day tasks. So I'll just start by introducing myself. So my name's Marie and I currently work at HM Revenue and Customs. So yes, it's a long job title. I'm Communications and Engagement Manager to the HM Revenue and Customs Chief Customer Officer and the Director General of Customer Services. So whilst that does sound confusing, that is in fact working for just one person. So just to explain, I currently work to Myrtle Lloyd, who is the Director General of Customer Services. So that is having the responsibility for helping individuals and businesses pay the right amount of tax and provide financial support to families. In July 2025, she was appointed as HMRC's first ever Chief Customer Officer with the responsibility for transforming customer experience and driving forward the tax authority's digital first ambitions. So my role within her private office is to ensure that she's visible and actively engaging with colleagues, and that is across HMRC and wider civil service, and this is across a range of platforms. So I lead on coordinating events, preparing content and briefing materials for the Director General, as well as many other tasks. A bit of background for you about me. I joined the civil service 16 years ago, and that was as an AA on a 4-month fixed term appointment, and that was at HM Courts and Tribunals. So firstly I was working on social security tribunals and then employment tribunals. After that I worked on operational excellence, and that was at the Department for Work and Pensions, and then I moved to HMRC where I spent the last 8 years working in private office roles. So let's make a start on our session today. So what is admin excellence? So administrative excellence is the consistent delivery of high quality professional administrative support that uses judgment, organisation, standards to enable effective leadership, reduce risk and improve outcomes. So it's not just about doing admin tasks well, it's about adding value through your judgment, organisation and standards. So administrative excellence can typically include the professional handling of work and inquiries, so handling correspondence, calls, stakeholder contact across different channels, so for example in person, on the phone and online. It includes strong organisation and prioritisation skills. You can tell that this is live, which is managing diaries, meetings, travel, and competing demands in a way that protects yours and your manager's time and supports the delivery of priorities rather than just reacting to requests that come in. It includes accuracy, compliance and good record keeping. So for example, this is maintaining clear, accurate, compliant records, filing and documentation so that information is easy to find when it's needed. And finally, it's using your initiative and being able to anticipate. So spotting risks, gaps or poor practice early and correcting them before they cause reputational, operational or governance issues rather than simply following instructions. So basically, admin excellence is being proactive, not reactive, outcome focused, not task focused, confident and professional, not just transactional, and grounded in your standards, values and good judgment.
apologies for that technical difficulty. We're now going to go back. Marie's going to start talking about her, going through her slides again. So I'll hand back over to you, Marie.
Thank you. Hopefully that is working better with the sound. If we can just get a thumbs up if that's working. Yeah, great. Thank you. So yes, on to managing inquiries effectively. Right, so this means handling incoming questions, requests, or issues in a way that is professional, timely, accurate, and proportionate. So what managing inquiries effectively means in practice is understanding and classifying the inquiry, quickly grasping what the inquiry is actually about, who it is from, and why it matters, judging its urgency, sensitivity, and risk, and deciding whether it can be handled directly or if it needs input from others or if there is a need for it to be escalated. It is also handling the inquiry confidently across different channels. So managing inquiries appropriately, whether they arrive by email, phone, Teams, letter, or in person, adapting the tone and response style to the audience. So for example, internal colleagues, senior leaders, external stakeholders, or members of the public, ensuring responses are professional, clear, and aligned with expected standards. It's giving the right response, not just a quick one. So providing accurate, relevant, and proportionate information rather than over or under responding to the inquiry. Avoiding unnecessary back and forth by anticipating follow-up questions, and being clear when something cannot be answered immediately, and then setting realistic next steps. So managing inquiries effectively is not simply forwarding everything to someone else, responding quickly but inaccurately, treating all inquiries as equal. So let's take a look now at how to handle in-person queries. So here you'll see a few bullet points which I will elaborate on. So firstly, pause and give visible attention. When someone approaches you in person, stop what you're doing where possible, make eye contact and acknowledge them promptly. Use a neutral opener like how can I help or what do you need support with. This will immediately reassure the person that they've been heard and it sets a professional tone. Then clarify the real inquiry before responding. So in-person queries are often vague or emotionally charged, so ask one or two clarifying questions to understand what is being asked, why it matters now, and what is the outcome they want. And avoid jumping straight to solutions before you understand the issue fully. This will then prevent mishandling and unnecessary escalation. Use your judgment to assess on the spot. This is urgency. Does it need action now or later? Sensitivity. Is it regarding personal data, complaints, or senior stakeholders? And appropriateness. Should this be handled here or elsewhere? And just a reminder that you do not need to resolve everything immediately. Effective management is about deciding the right next step. So be clear about boundaries and the next steps. If you cannot deal with the inquiry immediately, explain why calmly and professionally. Set clear expectations. For example, I can't look at this properly right now, but I will come back to you and give a time and a date. And avoid sorry, try and get my words out. Avoid vague reassurances like I'll see what I can do. By providing clarity, this builds confidence and trust. Stay professional under pressure. In-person inquiries can feel more intense than email, so try to keep the tone calm and neutral, even if the other person is frustrated. Don't mirror emotions or urgency. And if needed, suggest continuing the conversation later or in writing. Managing the interaction is as important as managing the content. And lastly, capture the inquiry if it matters. So after the interaction, make a brief note or a follow-up email if the inquiry is sensitive, it requires action, or it might be referenced later. This then protects you and the organisation and avoids having to rely on memory. So the next channel of interaction is phone. And here are a few tips on how to effectively manage phone inquiries. So take control of the call early. Phone inquiries can drift quickly if you don't set the frame. Answer professionally and confidently. Use a calm opening, such as "How can I help today?" Establish who is calling, why, and what they need within the first minute. This then helps you manage time and prevents unnecessary escalation. Listen actively and don't interrupt too soon. People often ring because they want reassurance or clarity, so let them explain the issue fully before responding. Listen for an urgency, emotion, and what they think the problem is versus what it actually is. Sometimes it's useful to replay a brief summary back to the person. So, for example, so what you're asking is this then confirms your understanding, and it builds confidence with the person. It also helps reducing mishandling and then further repeat calls. Use judgment to assess during the call. So while listening, assess the urgency. Does it need immediate action, the sensitivity, and the ownership? Can you resolve it, or does it need to go elsewhere? Effective management is about deciding the right response. Be clear and structured in your response. Phone calls leave no written trail unless you create one, so speak slowly and clearly, avoid jargon or internal language, break responses into short, logical points. If you give instructions or next steps, check the person's understanding before ending the call. Providing clarity on the phone prevents follow-up queries later. Don't commit on the call if you shouldn't. It's acceptable and professional not to answer immediately. If you need to check your facts or seek further advice, say so clearly and give a realistic time frame for a response. Avoid overpromising just to end the call quickly, because managing expectations is a key part of managing inquiries effectively. Close the call professionally. So before ending the call, summarise what's been agreed, confirm the next steps and timescales, and thank the caller. Record the inquiry if it matters. So after the call, make a brief note or follow-up email if the inquiry is sensitive, complex, or if it is likely to resurface. Record what was asked, what you said, and any actions that were agreed. This then protects you and the organisation and supports continuity. So the final channel of interaction we will focus on is online. So read the whole inquiry before responding. Online inquiries are often skim-read, which can cause problems. So read the full message, including any attachments and any previous threads that may be included. Check who it's from, who's copied, and what's actually being asked. And look for implied urgency or sensitivity, not just what's asked. Assess before you reply. So before typing anything else, decide urgency. Does it need to be actioned now or later? Sensitivity. Does it include senior leaders, complaints, personal data, or external stakeholders? And ownership. Is this yours to handle, or does it need redirecting or escalation? Effective management is about deciding the right response, not replying to everything immediately. So acknowledge promptly even if you can't resolve. For complex or sensitive queries, send short acknowledgement if a full response will take you time. Set clear expectations on the next steps or timescales, and avoid silence, which can create frustration. Hi, so hopefully you can hear me a bit better now. Yep. So I'm just going to carry on where I think I got to. So let's start again on the online inquiries. So read the whole inquiry before responding. Online inquiries are often skim read, which can cause problems. So read the full message, including attachments and any previous threads that may be included. Check who it's from, who's copied, and what's actually being asked, and look for implied urgency or sensitivity, not just what's stated. Assess before you reply. So before replying, decide the urgency. Does it need action now or later? Sensitivity. Does it include senior leaders, complaints, personal data, or external stakeholders? Ownership. Is this yours to handle, or does it need redirecting or escalation? Effective management is about deciding the right response, not replying to everything immediately. Acknowledge promptly, even if you can't resolve. So for complex or sensitive queries, send a short acknowledgement if a full response will take time. Set clear expectations on the next steps or timescales, and avoid silence, which can create frustration or repeated chasing. So choose acknowledgement over commitment, as it's about managing people's confidence. Be clear, concise, and structured. Online responses should be easy to read and hard to misinterpret. So use short paragraphs or bullet points. Avoid unnecessary background or internal jargon, and answer the actual question that is being asked. Giving clear digital responses reduces follow-up inquiries and misunderstandings. Use judgment about who really needs to be involved, so don't default copying in senior leaders or large groups. Ask yourself who genuinely needs to see this, and who is being copied just in case. Summarise before escalating rather than forwarding entire chains. Match the tone to the audience and channel. Online tone can easily be misread, therefore keep language professional, neutral and proportionate. Be especially careful with short Teams messages, one-line replies and emotionally charged issues. And when in doubt, choose clarity over speed. The tone management is part of effective inquiry handling. Know when to take it offline. Not all inquiries should stay online. Consider switching to a call or meeting if the issue is complex, or there's misunderstanding or attention, or if a rapid back and forth is developing. And follow up in writing if decisions or actions are agreed. Record and file appropriately. Online inquiries often become part of the audit trail, so ensure important messages are saved, filed and logged in the right place, and this is especially important for repeat, sensitive or high-risk inquiries. So I'm just going to move on to the next slide now, which just shows some best practice for managing inquiries effectively across the different channels that we've just spoken about. So these professional behaviours are things that you can use every day. So, greet all customers politely, professionally, ask clarifying questions, confirm identity, security steps when needed, provide clear, accurate and concise information, avoid discussing personal information in public areas, log all inquiries in the correct system, follow service standards for response times, and escalate complex or sensitive cases appropriately. And then communication standards. So use clear, plain English in emails and letters. Check your tone. Be professional, calm and respectful. Proofread before sending. Use meaningful subject lines. Keep communication factual and neutral. Respond within agreed timescales or send holding replies and attach documents correctly and check that the links will work for the people receiving the email. So moving on to best practice in scheduling meetings. So start with purpose, not availability. So before you look at calendars, be clear on why the meeting exists, what must be different by the end. So any decisions, alignment, ideas, updates. Invite only those who add value. A good rule of thumb to go by is decision makers, people with the essential expertise and people who must act on the outcome. So avoid for awareness invites. Share notes instead with these people as it respects people's time and it improves the focus on the meeting objective. Choose times thoughtfully. Consider time zones, working patterns. People might be doing school runs, on the lunch or commuting into work, and cognitive load. So early mornings and late afternoons are the worst for decision making. Where possible, rotate recurring meetings so the same people aren't always inconvened. avoid back-to-back scheduling, so allow a buffer time in there. Send the agenda early and make it useful. So a strong agenda is sent in advance, it states the objectives, it lists items as questions, not topics, and it shows timings and decisions required. Make meetings inclusive by design. So to ensure everyone can contribute, share materials beforehand. This helps introverts and remote attendees. Actively manage airtime and don't let the loudest voices dominate the meeting. And if needed, use the chat function, reactions, or do a round robin check-in at the end if needed. So if someone couldn't attend, they should still be able to understand the outcome of the meeting easily. Be deliberate with reoccurring meetings. So every recurring meeting should be reviewed periodically. So is it still needed? Does it need for everyone? Could it be shorter or less frequent? And then capture the outcomes, not just the discussion. So after the meeting, ensure there's clarity on any decisions that have been made, any actions, and the action owners, and the deadlines. So now we'll move on to some best practice for planning and booking travel. So firstly, confirm that travel is genuinely necessary. So before booking, ask whether the objective can be achieved virtually or locally. Challenge travel that is habitual rather than essential. And if travel is needed, limit attendees to those who add real value. Book as early as you can when plans are reasonably firm. Across organisations, it is best practice to book as soon as dates and locations are known and avoid holding off just in case unless there is genuine uncertainty. Early booking generally means lower fares, more choice and less disruption risk. So optimise for total journey cost, not just the ticket price. So good travel booking considers the door-to-door time, overnight stays against early starts, ground transport and transfers, fatigue and productivity on arrival. The cheapest ticket is not always the best business decision. So choose transport based on context. So the best principles are public transport is often the most cost-effective and productive for individuals. Car travel may make sense for multiple travellers, remote locations or equipment transport. Air travel should be proportionate to distance, urgency and alternatives. And the key is matching the mode to the purpose, not just default into habit. Be deliberate about accommodation. So when you're booking hotels, stay close to the meeting location where possible. Prioritise safety, reliability and cancellation flexibility. Avoid unnecessary upgrades. Consider whether an overnight stay reduces the risk of fatigue compared to the same day travel. Consistency and predictability often matter more than luxury. Building flexibility where uncertainty exists. So where plans may change, prefer refundable or changeable fares if the cost difference is reasonable. Avoid non-refundable options for complex or multi-stakeholder trips and keep itineraries simple to reduce knock-on impacts if one element changes and align the travel with the diary and logistics early. So the best practice is to coordinate travel booking with calendar commitments, allow realistic buffer time before and after key meetings and avoid last meeting of the day scheduling that risks misconnections. So the travel and the diary management should always be joined up. So think about well-being and sustainability. So factor in reasonable start and finish times, time to rest on longer journeys and lower carbon options where practical. And keep clear records and confirmations. So always ensure that confirmations and tickets are accessible and all in one place. Key details, so the times, locations and contacts are easy to find and someone else can step in if the traveller is unavailable. This reduces risk on the day of travel. So next we're going to talk about best practice in diary management. So treat the diary as a strategic tool, not an admin record. So effective diary management is proactive and not reactive. The diary should reflect priorities, not just availability. Protect time for your decision-making, preparation and recovery. Signal what matters most through how time is allocated. Plan time in categories, not just meetings. So best practice is to deliberately block time for meetings, your focus thinking time, preparation and follow-up, development or learning, and your personal well-being, so like lunch and breaks. So grouping and categorising time, so for example you could use colour coding, helps maintain balance and prevents meetings crowding everything else out.
Be clear about priorities before accepting bookings. A well-managed diary reflects conscious choices before accepting or scheduling. Think about, does this align with current priorities? Is the timing appropriate for the type of activity? Is the right person attending, or could someone else represent? Protect focus and transition time. So avoid back-to-back meetings all day, switching constantly between topics with no buffer time between and no time to prepare or follow up from meetings. So build in short buffers, avoid context switching where possible, and allow thinking time before key decisions. And as mentioned before, join up the diary meetings and travel. So a diary should show the whole picture, including travel time, setup and clear down time, preparation windows, and recovery time after intensive events. So separating meetings from logistics creates risk. Strong diary management integrates them all into one coherent plan. Review and maintain the diary regularly. Best practice is to review the diary daily, review weekly for balance pressure points, and periodically review reoccurring meetings and commitments. So reoccurring entries should earn their place. If something no longer adds value, it should be changed or removed. Use consistent standards and signals. Professional diary management relies on clarity, so clear titles that explain the purpose, agendas or notes when needed, consistent use of categories, statuses or labels. This allows others and your future self to quickly understand what the time is blocked out for. Anticipate change and plan contingencies. This is especially important when working in a private office. So strong diary management assumes meetings will move, travel will overrun, priorities will shift. So the best practice is to think ahead. What could move? What could be impacted? And what's the fallback of that? And again, use the diary to support well-being and sustainability. So reasonable working patterns, breaks and recovery, and a pace over time. So a full diary is not the same as having an effective diary. So some tips on scheduling meetings and diary management. Check manager attendee availability before confirming. Avoid double booking, back-to-back appointments, travel, log in buffer time. You can read all them. I'm just keep moving on because I'm conscious about time. So, some tips on travel and logistics coordination there. And then just moving on, so staying on top of records, filing and databases. So treat record keeping as part of the work, not an afterthought. So across enterprise guidance, a consistent message is that records protect decisions, people and organisations. Filing is not tidying up later, it's part of completing the task. Poor records create risk, rework and confusion after the moment has passed. So be clear what is a record and what isn't. Best practice starts with judgment. Records are things that evidence decisions, actions, approvals, commitments or advice. Not everything needs to be kept, but what does need keeping must be captured properly. So emails, notes, documents, messages, data entries can all be records if they explain why something has happened. File little and often. So this avoids I'll sort it later. File as you go while the context is still fresh. Don't rely on personal inboxes, desktops as holding areas. And avoid large backlogs because they then increase error and emit risk. Name files so someone else can understand them. So a good file name should answer, what is this, what does it relate to, when is it from, and is it a final or draft version? And manage the versions deliberately. So one clear current or final version, all drafts to either be clearly labelled or archived, and avoid emailing multiple conflicting versions without clarifying. Keep databases accurate, current and minimal. So for databases or trackers, only capture data that has a clear purpose, update promptly when things change, remove or archive redundant entries, avoid duplication across multiple trackers unless there is a clear reason why. Record decisions and actions explicitly. So a best practice theme is don't just record what happened, record what was decided by who and why. So meeting notes, action logs and decision records are most valuable when they reduce any ambiguity. Make records findable, not perfect. So good record keeping prioritises retrievability, shared access and a clear structure. The test is, could someone else find and understand what this is without me? Build routine review and housekeeping. So best practice includes regular light touch reviews of folders and databases, archiving closed work, removing duplicates or outdated material, and balance accessibility with control. So strong systems strike a balance. So accessible enough that people can actually use them, but then controlled enough to prevent accidental loss, overwrite or misuse. And this applies whether systems are shared drives, cloud platforms or structured databases. So staying on top of records, filing and databases. So common mistakes to avoid. So you can see there's a few points there. So yep, saving things temporarily, not moving them multiple versions, relying on memory, databases being too complex for people to maintain and understand, and again, a filing system that only one person understands. So I did have a case study, but I think I'm going to leave that there because I'm just conscious that we've got 5 minutes left and I just wondered if anyone had any questions. I can't view the chat bar at the moment, so...
Sorry. Hi Marie, don't worry, I'll look at the questions for you so you don't have to worry about if anything's coming up. So if you just give me one moment, I'll have a look. At the moment, there are...
Any questions or anything?
Let me just double check. Yeah, there's no questions at the moment. Would that be all right? Could I ask you a quick question?
Yes.
So, how do you, maybe in those situations, and it's really clear you've given us some really great information, but how do you seek feedback on actually, if I was incorporating all of your tips, that actually I'm doing a good job?
So I think that's a good question, yeah. And obviously a lot of these things, it is like it's changing a way that you work and that works for you and works for, I guess, the people that you are working with, so your stakeholders. I think people not having to come to you to ask questions about certain things, I think that is more feedback than someone actually saying this works well for me. Does that make sense?
No, that makes pretty much sense, yeah. Because if you're so effective and you're using the tools and tips, then actually that's then providing a better service to people who then, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and I mean, I am really conscious that we've had like quite a lot of tech issues. So if people would like me to share these slides and, you know, my elaborative notes, I'm conscious that I've spoke quite a lot, then I am happy to do so.
No, and I think that's going to be part of the sort of package anyway for the registration. So I think slides will be shared. But I just want to say, like, to me, even with the tech issues, you were still professional throughout. You didn't get flustered at all. So I'd love to be able to pick up on some of those presentation skills because I know I would have lost track.
It was hard, and you can tell it's live because I'm at home, and then we had the window cleaner here and the bin men. So yeah.
At least you get them coming on the same day. I hate it when I get like my window cleaner who comes on a Monday morning, which is the time you want to rest, and then the bins come on the Wednesday, but we've got the recycling and the normal one, and then they come in. One comes in the morning for the normal rubbish, and then recycling comes in the afternoon. You just never get a moment's peace. Not that I'm complaining for anyone who's related to anyone who's bin men or window cleaners. So look, let me just quickly check to make sure that there are no more questions. So I would say no, there are no questions. So just for the audience, because if that's okay, if you can see Marie, please can you use your virtual thumbs up or claps or hearts just to say thank you very much for Marie, her presentation, her professionalism, and also as well her great personality throughout.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And I'm really sorry again about the tech issues. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
No, excellent, Marie. And if you don't mind, I might follow you on LinkedIn. Is that okay?
Do it.
Are you on LinkedIn?
Fine.
Yes, excellent. I'll make sure I do that. Okay. So we have our next session at 11:15. As I asked each and every one of you, if you could join just before that. Once again, comfort break time. Hopefully you've got a copy of the agenda so you know what's coming. And as I said, it'll be on this platform. So I will see you in less than 16 minutes. Take care all.